Krishna consciousness. But Varnashram Dharma is not the goal of our practice. The goal of our practice is to develop love for Lord Krishna. In Mahaprabhu's conversation with Rai Ramananda, which is the zenith of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, there Mahaprabhu is asking Ramananda, what is the best thing? And Ramananda giving so many different replies, and one reply was to perfectly follow Varnashram Dharma in the mood of devotion to Lord Vishnu. And Mahaprabhu's reply was, yes, that's okay. It is superficial, go deeper. But we are living in the material world, so necessary some it takes up so much time. Spirit. And especially in our line, the line established by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and followed by our Guru Maharaj. Brahmachari means to serve under the direction of a Vaishnava 24 hours a day. It doesn't just mean independence. You know, they have a crude statement, that I've heard people say in India. Why keep a cow when you can buy milk in the marketplace? That is not brahmacharya. That is a sinful life. It is not recommended if you are serious about spiritual life. If you can give your life 10% for the service of Guru and Gauranga under the direction of a higher Vaishnava, that is perfect life. But we are, as the Bible says, the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. So this is the fact, actually. And especially when we are younger, the senses are very strong and pull us in the direction of sensual gratification. So for that, there are some allowances given in the scripture. You take one husband, take one wife, and live peacefully and practice Krishna consciousness in your home. And that is a very good prescription. But also, when I asked permission from Sridhar Maharaj, that when I came to Guru Maharaj, then I was practicing brahmachari and living in the mott. But I knew in my heart, my life will not go that way. In fact, when I first became involved with Krishna consciousness, what attracted me most, there's a picture in Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita of a man with his wife and children, and they're dancing, and the gods showering flowers down on them. You've seen that picture, and that attracted me. Oh, that kind of life I want. That looks very nice to me. And so anyway, when I was about 25 or so, I forget exactly, I asked Sridhar Maharaj's permission. Now I want to marry, and Guru Maharaj gave permission. I have the letter at home. Yes, you may, but you will need to, have a job, all of these things that, to support your family, future family. He said, but my advice to you, remember this, that independence is the demon that takes us away from Krishna's service. So that point I always try to remember. That because family life means some degree of independence, but that is not for sense gratification. It is rather, some allowance is there, but we are to utilize our time and energy for Krishna's service as much as possible. So it has always been my attempt to mold my family life in such a way that I can serve Guru Maharaj and serve his mission and his devotees. So all of these things, they will reflect on your day-to-day living. What will I do to make money? That is first question. Then necessary for us to think what will be suitable. It will not be suitable to work in McDonald's to make a living as a devotee. We can understand easily. Although we have the experience, some of our devotees working in McDonald's. And we had to say before they took initiation, we say you cannot work in McDonald's if you want to take initiation. I have one friend, his name is Bhakti Das, and he's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. And when he took initiation, he's a married man, and when he took initiation, he was working in a brewery. And at the time of initiation, he asked Srila Prabhupada, should I leave my job in the brewery? And Srila Prabhupada said, no, you are a family man, you have to maintain your family. Okay. Then he continued working in the brewery, but when he took second initiation, Gayatri initiation, then Prabhupada said, now you must stop working in the brewery. That will not be appropriate for you, because Brahmin means you have to follow some standard. With Harinam, that is very liberal. But when you take initiation as a Brahmin, you have to live as a Brahmin. You cannot work in the meat shop, you cannot work in the brewery, you cannot work in the betting shop. These are places of Kali. We cannot do that. Then what we will do for our maintenance, we will have to consider carefully that. There are two lines of thought generally. One is that try to do what you love as your job. Then it won't be a job, it will be, like leisure pastime to you. I went for an interview once at a famous firm of architects in London. They're called Arup, and the founder is a man called Ave Arup, which is a strange sounding name, but actually he's British. But where that name come from, I don't know. But he's a very famous architect. Many buildings in London, he was responsible for designing and building that. That was his philosophy. If for your work you do something that you love, it won't be work. So that's okay. But the other one, which was famously coined by Henry Ford, the founder of the Ford Motor Company, he said, work is what we do to facilitate the things that we love in our life. So, and I think for devotees, that's more the thinking when we're looking for some way to maintain ourselves, some job to do. And whatever it is that we do, that is to maintain our real life, our devotional life. Then that way. And also we have to be practical. We cannot be, like living in a fantasy. Oh, I'll do this, I'll make a living by, building temples, or, some fantasy idea. That won't work. You have to do something practical. And those who have some capacity, they can make business, but that's not been ever my capacity. Money runs away from me. So for me, the only way that I know how to make money is to be employed by somebody. But I try to make that so that it is not in conflict with my spiritual ideal. So for me, that was working in the public service. And that means, although by profession I'm a surveyor, if I worked in the private sector, I would make more money. But I work in the public sector because it affords me more time for devotion. In the private sector, they want to work you every minute of the day.
Extract.
This is my oldest daughter, Nadia Rani. She's working for this finance service company, Ernst Young. They're like one of the big 4 financial services companies in the world. And they work her so much. Sometimes she doesn't leave work till after midnight, and coming home early hours in the morning. And the next day she has to be at work 9 o'clock. But the next day, then this is impossible. For me, that would be impossible.
How she manages to?
Well, the idea is because she's on a graduate program. Then as a graduate,
yes.
While she's working there, she takes professional exams as well. And the idea is after the 3 years, when the graduate program is finished, thank you for that. Then that kind of workload will go on to the new graduates, and she'll, get some kind of a break from that. But even so,
in studies, we experience that type of thing.
Yeah, so it's very difficult, and for practicing spiritual life, that's almost impossible on a day-to-day basis. But like for me, working in the public sector, then you get you can get a lot of time off. So for attending the festivals, not all the festivals. I would never be at work. There's a festival every few days generally. But the main ones I can get time off for that. So I get in the public sector you get good leave facility, and also generally you're able to work flexi time too, so you can build up hours and take time off. Anyway, that's what worked for me. It's not satisfactory, but as satisfactory as possible for me. So that is first thing. But still, what you will do, there must be some consonance there with your spiritual ideal. And everything that you do in your life, especially in family life, that should be informed by your spiritual principles. And in family life, we should try to make our family Krishna-centered. The Christians, they have a saying: the family that prays together stays together. It is a very good thing. And that means we should try to encourage our family members in that way. So then that's also important, that who you choose as a husband or wife, that they're also devotee. Because we have seen so many people who have entered into married life with those who aren't devotees, and the result has not been good. It is either they will leave Krishna consciousness, or the person that they are married with, they will become a devotee. Then that's a good result. But more often than not, it goes the other way. We had one godbrother in the time of Guru Maharaj, and his wife, she was very opposed to Krishna consciousness, wouldn't let him bring the children to the temple, anything. And when he was asleep in the night, she cut off his shika in his sleep.
Too much.
But now, where he is now, we don't know. We've not, because he made that choice. It comes to a point you have to make a choice: spiritual life or family life. And when you have children and everything, attachment is very strong. To leave them is very difficult. As you all know, or most of you know, my first wife, she passed away tragically, and at that time, that was now 24 years. Like 16 or 17 years ago, I forget exactly now the time, and my daughter then, she was 7 years old. And at that time, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he asked me, you give your daughter to Sri Lekha and Sri Govinda, and you take sannyas.
Wow.
and I agonized over it, and finally I told Maharaj, I cannot give my daughter to someone else. And Maharaj said, yes, of course. How is that possible? But it was he himself who asked me that. But anyhow, attachment is very strong. But we should not think. Actually, one of the things that Grihastha life teaches us is a kind of detachment. We are forced to become detached from our family when we see that they do not become what we hope them to become, you can say. Still, attachment is there, but you have to become a little detached from that idea. We have to become detached from the idea that our children belong to us. We are only custodian for some time. They are in our care. We have to give some nourishment and care to them. But what they will do with their life, that is in their hands, not in our hands. Srila Govinda Maharaj used to joke many times. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj gave Krishna consciousness to the whole world, but could not give to his own children. We know that, right? In fact, Srila Gurudev, he was very close friends with Mathura, which was Prabhupada's one son, Mathura. They were same age, so they were very close friends. And he told me, most of his adult life, he was in and out of mental asylums.
Who?
Mathura, the child of Prabhupada. Then we cannot control what will happen. That is a very difficult thing. Still, we have some responsibility to our children, because having a child is like having a disciple. But still, when the spiritual master accepts a disciple, he is not responsible if the disciple decides to do something else, or to go away, or to leave Krishna consciousness. So the same thing with the parent. Where their children will go, that is not it is not within their power to decide that. We may have some aspiration, some wish, and so on, but how it will be, we do not know. But Krishna consciousness life, married life, should be to try to encourage service. You see, in the time of Mahaprabhu, there was no, institution for practicing Krishna consciousness. It was an association of devotees, but in a very loose way, you can say, not like in an organized way. And in general, most of Mahaprabhu's associates, they are all Grihasthas. Mahaprabhu himself was a Grihastha, but for a higher purpose he left that and accepted sannyas. But his example is to teach us how we should practice Krishna consciousness in this world. And main thing we can take from that is that we are not to compromise with our principle, even for our family. We must not do that. Sometimes we see that when two devotees, they become married, before they were both very good servitors, but after marrying, now the wife is always complaining, "Oh, why you're always going to the temple? I need you here to do this or to do that, or to look after the children, or do this thing, do that thing." That is not good. We came to our Gurudev and we made a vow to him. When we took initiation, we made a vow, "I will serve you, I will serve your mission, I will serve you, I will serve your deity, I will serve your devotees." That is our vow. Then we should accept that very seriously. And our married life should support that and encourage that, not the other way around. Not that now we're married, we forget our vows to our Gurudev. Rather, we should be together, supporting each other in our service to Guru and Vaishnava. It is very important. Mahaprabhu has taught Namaruchi, Jiva Doya, Vaishnava Sevan. These three things are primary. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord, to develop love for the name of the Lord, to show kindness to all living beings, and to serve the Vaishnavas. Then when we have some facility as a householder, then we should use that facility for the service of the Vaishnavas. It is very important to serve sadhus, to serve Vaishnavas. Invite the Vaishnavas to your home. Make your home a temple, and make some Vaishnav Mahotsav in your home. As much as possible, as often as possible. And always Krishna to be in the center. As we heard in the beginning of the ISKCON, when they first established their Grihastha community in San Francisco, or was it LA? I forget. Where the LA, I think it is, isn't it? I don't know what size it is. Then they had some apartments near the temple there, and Prabhupada gave some instruction to them. If you are cooking something, before you take, you must go outside. Anyone is hungry, you please come and take some prasada.
Yes. That was the life.
And we heard that sometimes the brahmacharis, they hid nearby. They would sell, and then, "Yes, we are in Russia," to take some prasada. But this is, in Vedic marriage, one of the vows that they take traditionally is to serve guests and to feed animals every day. So this is then. For Vaishnavas, we also will do that, but try to, give prasadam, and as much as possible, though, to be part of the spiritual community, not to become like an isolationist. That will not be good. That will not be proper Krishna consciousness life. If we can join with the devotees in the temple, that is always preferable to sitting in your home chanting alone, or even with your wife and children. Bring them to the temple and do that. Why our spiritual masters have established these temples all over the world? For this purpose, to give us opportunity to serve Krishna and to serve the Vaishnavas. And this way there is a kind of a spiritual symbiosis. It is important. Sometimes some bad feeling become between the brahmacharis and the grihastas. Sometimes brahmachari thinking, they are just doing sense gratification and we are doing all the service. And then they're coming on Sunday just for the feast, and we have to give service to them, and this way. They are feeling some resentment. And sometimes the grihastas also think, oh, they're brahmacharis, they're just sleeping and eating and sleeping in the temple, they're not doing anything all day. This way.
Yeah.
But both are a bad attitude to have. We should think in another way. The grihastas should think, oh, the devotees in the temple, they're giving so much of their energy, 24 hours a day. We cannot do that, they are doing that. They are worshipable to us.
Govinda Maharaj said something on this, I think. He told that Grihastha life is the highest because they are serving all the ashramas.
Yeah. Then the brahmacharis, their attitude will be, oh, the grihastha devotees, they're in the world every day dealing with Maya, and still they're maintaining their Krishna consciousness. What a wonderful thing.
Yes.
This should be the thought, not the other way around. And in fact, just a few years ago, Sripad, Radhanath Swami from ISKCON, he came to visit Gurudev in Calcutta. And Gurudev was not well that time. So he asked me to sit with that Maharaj and take prasadam with him. And while we were talking, he's telling me something about he has the temple in Bombay, in Chowpatty. And that temple was, before he took charge of that temple, it was in a very bad situation. And who I kept because they were actually interested in spiritual life. All the others were just lazy people who wanted a free place to live, and and they're thinking themselves to be very elevated. And he said, then I gradually I allowed brahmacharis to come and live there. And now that temple is a huge, thriving temple. They have like 70 brahmacharis and over 300 grihastha families, all practicing Krishna consciousness. And he said, when anyone comes to live in this temple, they have to take a vow. And that vow is that whatever is asked of them, they will never refuse. If you are asked to do some service, you will never say, no, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. Always you will accept. And he said, and I tell them, the day that you refuse to do service, that's the day you leave this temple. And the day that you find fault with the grihastas, that's the day you leave this temple. It is like forbidden. And Srila Gurudev, he told me, we can learn very much from Radhanath Swami. He's a very expert manager and organizer. And good-hearted man. Then this is proper Vaishnava dealings. They have that very nice community actually they have there. And then he told me their pujari, he's serving there, but he's a young man and he wanted to marry. Then he came to him and said, Guru Maharaj, to Radhanath Swami, who was his guru, I want to marry. And Radhanath Swami said, I am a sannyasi, cannot involve in that. But he said, I asked the senior grihastas, you arrange something for him. Then in the community they found a nice girl who wanted to marry, and they spent some time together and they married. But he wants to continue his service in the temple. And what will they do? But most of the householders there, they're all professional people. In fact, they're mainly doctors and surgeons. And they made a hospital there. And anyone in the community who needs some job, they employ them in the hospital. Even if they're not like medical qualified, you can work as a clerk or as a porter or something there. So then they have some standing in the society. So then to facilitate this Prabhu's, he can continue his service, then all of the grihastha they came together, and all together they bought an apartment for him and his wife near to the temple. And they arranged it so that he can continue his service in the temple. This is very nice. This is very proper for spiritual life. No, if we can, and it's so rare to find somebody that wants to serve, actually, that wants to dedicate themselves to the service of the Lord. In that case, we should try to give all facility to them, whatever that means. And we see this was, Guru Maharaj was like that. You know, Guru Maharaj, when he established Chaitanya Saraswat Math, there's only brahmachari and sannyasi living there. But one of his disciples, her name is Krishna Didi, and she's a very respectable lady. In fact, I heard Guru Maharaj say, Krishna is fully self-realized. But anyway, when she was a younger lady, she's also from a very high Brahmin family. And her daughter, her and her husband divorced. And in Indian society, that's very much frowned upon. And being a very orthodox family, she disinherited her daughter. And she gave her daughter's inheritance to Guru Maharaj instead. So she gave all the money. Her husband already passed away, so she gave all her money to Guru Maharaj. But that time she's still like relatively young lady, young woman, maybe late 30s, maybe 40, I don't know. But she came to Guru Maharaj and she said, but now I have nothing, I want to come and live in your ashram. And Guru Maharaj said, it's impossible, you cannot come. But she was determined. And Guru Maharaj said, no, only brahmachari sannyasi living here, and you are a beautiful young woman, then it will make disturbance in the temple if you come and live here. But she would not accept that. So what did she do? She shaved off all her hair and she smashed out all of her teeth to make herself not beautiful young lady. When Guru Maharaj saw that, he could not deny her and gave some place in the mott for her. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said that was the day when Guru Maharaj left his Brahmanism. So for those whose heart is determined for the service of Mahaprabhu, for the service of Guru and Vaishnava, then we must always give facility for that. Even if that means making some change in the orthodox arrangement. And we see that Srila Govinda Maharaj also did that. And finally, in his last days, for a long time, he was telling, my servants, they must be single people. But in the last day, he accepted Devabandhu and what was his wife's name? Nandapriya. And Gurudev said, I'm changing the arrangement. Before he would not accept anyone, married person as his personal servant, but he accepted in the last days. Because it is these formal things, they are not so important. In India, it's very difficult to change that.
Yes.
The arrangements. But in the West, when that arrangement never existed to begin with, then we can make adjustments.
Cultures are a little different.
Yeah, culture is a little different. And Guru Maharaj was aware of that. So, then I asked Srila Govinda Maharaj one time, what should we do? How is the best way to raise our children in Krishna consciousness? And Gurudev told, by your example. That is the best way. And never to force. Never to force them. And always give love to them. You must always give love in every circumstance. This was his advice. We see sometimes the children don't show any enthusiasm for Krishna consciousness as they get older, and the parent, devotee parent, wants to like get out. I've seen it sometimes. Then get out. But Gurudev did not tell like that. No, you must give love to them always. And not to try to force, but show by your own example. That is the best way. You see, children are very perceptive. When they are young, of course, when they're very young, you are their God. Mother and father are God to their children, and they're looking to them for everything. How they will behave, how they will, everything they'll do. And they want that acceptance of their parents and approval of their parents. So we see when they're very young, they show much enthusiasm for devotional life. But as they get older, there's much pressure from outside, from their school friends, and now, like on internet and so many things. That pressure is almost insurmountable against devotion. They don't want to show that. Sometimes. Some are strong, and sometimes they want to show that. But that is a rare thing. But in any case, we can only show the best example that we can give. And one thing that children are very perceptive of is hypocrisy. They see that very, like my mother and father, when I was growing up, they told me, don't smoke, it's very bad for you. But they both smoked. Then I, as a teenager, I thought, why should I listen to what they say? They're telling one thing and doing another thing. And of course, as you get to a certain stage in life, it is you naturally want to rebel against what your parents tell you and what they do. Sometimes it's like, just because they're doing it, you reject it. Just because my parents did it, especially in Western culture, because that's what my parents do, or that's what my parents believe, then I must reject that. But so you cannot be a hypocrite. You can only, like Srila Prabhupada used to say, even a thief doesn't want his son to grow up as a thief. He wants something better for his children than for himself. But if the child sees father as a thief, likelihood is he will also become a thief. When he sees how father is very expert at stealing, then he'll want to learn how to be very expert at stealing also. It's only natural. So Guru Maharaj told us, that about Mahatma Gandhi, when one of his admirers, lady, she came to him and she said, "Oh, Bapuji, my son, he has become very ill from overconsumption of salt. And the doctors have told him if he doesn't stop eating salt, he may die. But he cannot give up salt. But I think he has so much admiration for you. I think if you ask him to stop eating salt, then he'll stop." Then Gandhi considered and he said, "Come and see me again in 3 days' time." So 3 days later she came back, and Mahatma Gandhi took that boy by the hand, looked him in the eye, and he said, "My boy, promise me from today you will not take salt." And he said, "Yes, Bapuji, I will not take salt again." Very good. Then he said, to the mother, "You are happy?" She said, "I'm very happy." Then she said, "But I have one question. Why did you say come back in 3 days' time? Why didn't you ask him that?" Then he said, "Because 3 days ago I had not given up eating salt." So Guru Maharaj liked this example. If you will ask somebody to do something, you must also do that. You cannot ask one thing and do another thing. That is hypocrisy, and children pick up on that. They know. So that's the best way to raise your children in Krishna consciousness is to be Krishna conscious. The best way to show that example. And we can teach our children what is important. In Vaishnava culture, many things are important. We should teach our children to be respectful to others. This is Mahaprabhu's teaching after all, to give honor to all, to be humble, to be tolerant, and to give honor to all, and not to be expecting that for yourself. This is a difficult thing. Like my youngest daughter Malini, she's always getting some kind of award or something at school, and then she's thinking, oh, I'm so qualified, and I'm telling, oh, you are not humble. You have to be humble. Then remember that. It is important to remember that, and it is important to teach our children that, but also for us to practice that. It is not that Mahaprabhu has given those teachings as a stick for beating others, but they are meant for us to follow that. Not that we should be looking who isn't humble, who isn't tolerant, who isn't giving honor.
I'm the judge.
Yeah, but rather we should be thinking, how will I be humble in this situation? How will I practice tolerance, and how will I give honor to all? And then if we will practice that and teach that to our children, they will also grow to accept this as one of the principles of their life. And it is a very good principle. It is not mundane. Mahaprabhu himself has taught this. Without this qualification, you cannot chant the holy name of the Lord. Srila Gurudev taught that to us very clearly. Why, after practicing Krishna consciousness and chanting Harinam for so many years, no one is getting the result? Why? He said, then my conclusion is this. There can only be two possibilities. One, that the whole thing is just cheating business. Then he said, but if it were cheating business, I would have left it a long time ago. Because my thinking is, maybe I can't do any good for somebody else, but at least I won't do bad for somebody else. And if this is a cheating thing, then I must leave that. But the saints and the scriptures, they've all proven that it is real. It's not a cheating business. Then there must be some other reason why we're not getting the result. Why? Because we're not humble, we're not tolerant, we're not giving honor to others, and we're thinking that we should be honored, that we should be respected, and that we become proud with that. Then we will not get the result of chanting Harinam. Why Mahaprabhu has given so much stress on this point? It is super important. So we must try to teach that, and we must try to teach our children that by our own example. It is very difficult today how we will raise our children. Because there's no like handbook that you get when your children are born. This is how you should raise your children. There's no handbook, and always the opinion's changing, right? You're not allowed to give any punishment to your children now.
There is a law, I think.
Yeah, there's the law. Like my oldest daughter, her grandfather, her cousin, he was staying with him and misbehaving, and grandfather gave like some clip to his ear. Then he went to down to the telephone box and called child line. My grandfather is abusing me. Can you? Yeah, really. Can you imagine? And maybe he's like 8 years old, but he's seen this on the television, child line, anyone you see, like so. My grandfather is abusing me. He's beating me. So then social workers come, police come, everything. They have to check it out, So although he's a good man, honorable man, Now he's on register of possible child abusers because of that. You
in our childhood, our teacher used to beat us with the hand. Now it's
not allowed.
Impossible.
My dad was saying when he was growing up, if you misbehaved, even not relatives, anyone in the community would just And if you went back and told your father, he would hit you again.
Yeah. No, that's true. When I was growing up, I grew up in a small town, and everyone knows everyone in that town. And the local police officer, if he saw you doing any wrong, he would give beating to you. The police officer, he would give you a clip and tell, if I see you doing that again, I'm telling your father. I know your father. And everybody had some respect and honor for that. But now the children say, you can't do anything to me.
I have a number.
I've got the number, I've got the child line number.
In the temple, when his daughter's son, he was 70 years old. So Sri told him something. He said, I will report to the authority.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and that is the government interfering with too much. It's called breaking the walnut with the sledgehammer, because one or two people abuse there are people who abuse their children, beat them for no reason, and abuse them in other ways also.
Psychological.
But to protect all, then they think we have to pass a law to stop that, any kind of punishment at all. And even Jagannath Mishra, he told, I will not spoil the child by sparing the rod. Of course, when he saw that boy, he cannot use the rod on him. He cannot, even though, because that Nimai is so charming, his father can never give punishment to him. But his intention was that I will give some punishment for correcting him. So anyway, I'm not telling how you should discipline your children or anything, but we must sometimes it is necessary to be a little firm-handed with the children, not to just let them run crazy and do anything and everything. Otherwise it'd be, it is like a kind of hippie philosophy. Let the children just do whatever they like, and then the children become disturbed and grow up, and we don't know what to do. We've tried nothing, and it's just not worked. So then it's necessary to give some discipline to your children and not to just let them have everything and anything. One devotee recently told me, why are my children so bad behaved? And I said, what do you do to correct them? I don't do anything. And whatever they want, I give them. Whatever it is. That's my duty as a father. I said, no, that is your mistake, Prabhu, thinking that. It means they are dictating everything to you. Oh, Father, I want this, I want that. Oh, yes. Giving everything. Then that means nothing becomes of any value to them. That they get used to just getting everything for nothing. So it is not good. Actually, that is not our responsibility to fulfill our children's desires for sense enjoyment. Our duty is to feed them, clothe them, teach them, and love them. And sometimes, necessary a little bit tough love sometimes. Not just to pander to them. That is how it's become nowadays. I saw on the television, in America particularly, this girl, it was her 18th birthday, and her parents gave her a new BMW as an 18th birthday present. And they came out, all the friends are there at the birthday party, and they give her the keys. And then she went completely mad. You were not supposed to give it till this time, when after this had happened and that had happened. And she throws it and storms off, and they're like, what did we do? What did we do? So spoiled. And really that word is correct, spoiled. They're just pandering, thinking, and then the children think that that's what life's all about. Just to get everything that I desire at any cost. And more than any cost, no cost is better. Then nothing is of any value to them. We should try to teach our children that everything has its price. And not just that everything has its price, but that not everything that we desire is good for us. This is a very important lesson, especially for children. Because they cannot understand that. They see something, they want it. And then they will scream. When my daughter, when she was very small, she must go, you know those things outside the supermarket? They have like some horse or and you put some money and they ride that, you know? If she sees one of those, she must go on it. Must. And if we won't let her go on it, she'll lie on the floor and scream. And so I thought, oh, we have to put a stop to this. So then we just left her screaming on the floor one day on Brighton Pier. There were some of those things there, and she's lying screaming. And we went round the corner, and she thinks we've left her. And then after a few minutes, she sees no one is there. Oh, she just got up. Walked like, where's mum and dad? And then when she saw, oh, okay. That was the last time it happened. But as long as they think, by making some performance, that they'll get it what they want, you cannot allow it.
Some children are very smart, actually.
Yeah, they're very smart. I asked Srila Gurudev, I've always tried to teach my children to be honest, but they're always lying. Why is that? You're like, and children learn that like as a defense mechanism. No, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I wasn't there. Like something like that. And I asked Gurudev, why? Where did they learn this from? And Gurudev said, this is because they are very intelligent. So, it is a difficult thing. Actually, in Kali Yuga, to perfectly follow any ashram is very difficult. Yes. And that is, in fact, almost impossible. So we should not be so much attached to labels like this. This is the one thing that I marked when I came to Guru Maharaj's temple. That the only designation that Guru Maharaj's disciples were comfortable with was servant of the Vaishnava. This was their, like in ISKCON we used to think, when you meet someone, maybe it's a thing because, largely ISKCON coming from America, and maybe it's a thing with that. I've noticed when you go to America, when you meet someone, their first question always is, what do you do? And that's like, then they'll make their measure of you based on your answer to that. Oh, hi, I'm Joe, and what do you do? Oh, I do this, or I do that. Then they'll relate to you based on that. So, growing up in ISKCON, whenever we would meet some new devotee, the question was like, what's your service, Prabhu? And they say, oh yeah, what's your program? But what's your service? And then, I'm a pujari, or I'm a book distributor, or I'm this, or I'm a cook, or I'm this, or I'm that. Then, when we came to Guru Maharaj in the 1980s, we had that was our habit. You meet some new devotee, oh Prabhu, Hare Krishna. And what's your service? And everyone in Guru Maharaj's mott, no one would say, I'm the pujari, I'm the cook, I'm the this, I'm the that. Without exception, everyone said, Vaishnav Seva, that is my service. Vaishnav Seva. And I marked it. And like I saw some devotees, they were like, yeah, but like, what's your service? But still the reply, no, Vaishnav Seva. This is what Guru Maharaj taught us. Service to the Vaishnava, that is everything. And that is a very healthy thing for us to teach our children, to serve the Vaishnavas.
The real identity.
Yes, this is our real identity. So to serve the Vaishnavas. And Srila Govinda Maharaj would say more than that, with nirmatsaranam, without envy. Serve the Vaishnavas without envy. That is important. And also difficult. It is difficult for us to, we have that tendency within us. You know, like, it is a very bad human trait, a materialistic trait, that we like to see other people fail. It is a very common thing that all the newspapers, they love that. They love to build somebody up and then smash them down when they find some wrong thing about them. And these are the most popular newspapers, right? The red top newspapers. That's what they do all the time. There's no real news there. It's all just gossip, you know? Today we love this person and now we really hate them because of this and this and this. This is all vitriol. And it is very unhealthy. But Vaishnav culture is the opposite of that. When we see somebody flourishing in devotion, we should feel joyful for that. Why? Because it actually substantiates within us the reality of Krishna consciousness. Because Srila Guru Maharaj said the peculiar thing about bhakti is you cannot detect it in yourself. And if you think that you are, progressing nicely in devotional service and your bhakti is developing in you, then Guru Maharaj would say, then that means you're very far away from that. So we see that when we first come, we think, oh, this is a very simple thing and very quickly I'll attain that. Nyasi Maharaj told me recently that when he was in Vrindavan, maybe last year, he was asked to give a talk in Krishna Balaram Mandir. They were having like some reunion of old disciples of Prabhupada, and he was, because one saw him there in Vrindavan, they asked him, oh Maharaj, you must come and speak something. So okay, he agreed to go. But they told him first of all, but you mustn't say anything about Sridhar Maharaj or Govinda Maharaj, but just about Prabhupada. Okay, then okay. But he told me, when I was giving the lecture, I made a joke. And when we first came, we thought that simply by chanting 16 rounds every day and following the 4 regulative principles, we'd all become, fully Krishna conscious within this lifetime. And he's like waiting for everybody to like, yeah. And then he said, I saw on their faces, they're all thinking, yes? Yes?
That's what it is.
That's right. That's what we do. That's what it is. And then he just thought, oh, I better change the subject. Because, this is neophyte thinking. That Krishna consciousness, we can attain that very quickly and very easily. But the reality is that it is such a rare thing. Real Krishna consciousness is so rare that thank you. It's almost unthinkable.
What uses Durlabha? Durlabha kaya premadana lutti.
Yes. That is almost impossible, you can say. Such a rare thing. So, it's not just about, becoming part of a counterculture or something like that, and accepting this, as a nice way of life. That's also a good thing, no doubt. They say imitation of a good thing is also a good thing. But we have to go a little bit deeper than that. We have to try and understand what it is that we really want. What is our real goal in life, in Krishna consciousness? What is it that we expect? And then when we establish what that is, we must be prepared to do whatever it takes to attain that. And that means to be in it for the long run. We must think that in the foreseeable future this is not possible for me. We cannot imagine that it will be possible for me. But still, nothing else for us to do except that. Nothing. There's no alternative. This was Guru Maharaj's. Once he said, "You think it's a fun?" It means like, do you think it's just like a joke or something? That what we're trying for is just something of a fun, a joke, a plaything? He says, you know what Brahma and Shiva are both saying, we have not got that. The Vedas, Jai. The Vedas personified, they're apologizing to the Lord. We're meant to show you to the people, but we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. Then who are we in comparison with them? With Brahma and Shiva and all of these great souls. And they're saying we don't have that. Mahaprabhu himself saying, I don't even have a whiff of that. No prem, no gandha. I don't even have like a small scent of that. And what is that? That's not just hyperbole or, some poetic expression. It's his real feeling. So, it is a very extraordinarily rare thing. But nevertheless, there is nothing of any value in this world, actually. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, there is nothing in this world for you to aspire for. Nothing. And we are always thinking, I've got so many dreams and ambitions and so on. One devotee told me when he was leaving the temple and he was moving away somewhere else, he'd been offered some other arrangement which he found preferable to him. Then he said, and I said, why are you going, Prabhu? He said, I can, in this new space I'll be able to study the Gita. I'll be able to. I said, no, you are lying. If you are not just lying to me, you're lying to yourself. How can you think that anywhere will be better than living in the ashram of your Guru Maharaj for cultivating that? How can you think that? Then finally he said, I've got to follow my dreams. And I said, Prabhu, no, you don't have to follow your dreams, because by their nature they're just dreams, and dreams are of no consequence. There's nowhere, it's very popular to say that nowadays. Follow your dreams, all of that. You'll see it all over the internet. Follow your dreams. But dreams are just that, they're just dreams. And not to say that the Lord can't come to you in a dream, that's also possible, but it's not the standard method. One lady, when she was a Japanese lady, and she a disciple of Srila Govinda Maharaj, and she wrote a letter to me. I want to come and live in London, and you will be my guru, she wrote to me. And I wrote back to her and I said, yes, come and live in London, but Srila Govinda Maharaj is your guru, but if I can help you, I'll try and help you. Then she came, and one day she told me, Prabhu, I need to speak to you. She was very distressed. Okay. Then we went and sat, and she's crying, so much crying that like liquid coming from her nose. It was very strange. And I said, what's wrong? What's wrong? She said, just previous to that, Srila Govinda Maharaj had visited London, and she's so much disturbed. I said, what's wrong? She said, I can't understand why when Srila Govinda Maharaj speaks to me in person, it's completely different to what he tells me in my dreams. I can't understand it. And I said, well, maybe that's the clue, that you shouldn't take very seriously what you see in dreams. Like you see something in the day and put it together, and in the night it comes out in some dream. Not to take that very seriously. One time I had a dream that Srila Sridhar Maharaj was living in a tree house in Greenwich Park. And I went to see him there, and no one can go up in the tree house, but through the window he would talk to the devotees. So I'm sitting down below, and I'm telling Guru Maharaj I'm here, and Guru Maharaj is looking out the window, and he says, "Oh, Devashis Prabhu, can you tell me which is better, Gillette or Wilkinson sword?" Then should I think that that's Guru Maharaj coming to me in some divine way to ask some question to me, or should I just think it's a nonsense dream? Like I'm hearing about Guru Maharaj, and in my dream I'm thinking about Guru Maharaj. This is good. I'm thinking about Guru Maharaj. Like one friend of mine, he's from England, but now he lives in South India. He went to study music in South India, Carnatic music. So he came to visit me a few years ago, and then he told me one day, "Oh, I've seen Mahadev, Lord Shiva. I had darshan of Lord Shiva." I said, "What do you mean, Prabhu?" He said, "No, I actually saw him, like real darshan of Lord Shiva." And I said, "What, you mean in the temple?" Or no. He actually came to me and revealed himself to me. I said, "Sure. What happened?" He said, "So I was in the Shiva temple, they're doing some Shiva kirtan, and suddenly a great pain came in my body, and I passed out. They took me to the hospital. I had a ruptured appendix. Then giving some operation to him, and he said, while they're operating on me, Lord Shiva came in a dream and revealed himself to me, showed himself to me." Then I said, "Really?" Then I said, so what happened?" He said, "That's it. He showed himself to me. I saw him, Mahadev. Now I'm his devotee," he told me. "Okay." I said, "So how has that changed your life?" No change in my life." "Oh," I said, "so don't you think that it's more likely that you were in the temple of Lord Shiva, thinking about Lord Shiva, and then you went to the hospital, they gave some heavy anesthetic drug to you, and in that anesthetic unconsciousness, you were thinking about Lord Shiva and imagining Lord Shiva." No, it was definitely Lord Shiva came." Then I said, "But if that was so, how come your life is just the same as it was before? You cannot see the divine and your life will remain the same. Still the same sensual appetite as before. Still all the things that you liked, all the mundane things that you were addicted to, still addicted to those things. How is it possible? If really you saw him, it is not possible. Cannot be possible." Then he got very angry with me and told, "Okay, I'm not going to speak to you anymore about that." Okay, all right. It is not impossible. Lord Shiva can show himself if he wants to. But my point is that if really you have darshan of the divine, you cannot remain mundane. It is not possible. Impossible.
Some are possible, like some asuras they say also Shiva sometimes,
Yeah.
a different way they say.
Well, yeah, a different way. But still, it is not such a cheap thing, that we can have divine experience in such a cheap way.
Yeah.
And if you have that, you cannot remain as you are. That's why they say, right? If there's anything you value in this world, don't look at that boy who stands on the banks of Keshi Ghat with the eyes like lotus flowers, playing his flute with the threefold bending form. Don't look at him, because once you see that boy, nothing in this world will be valuable to you anymore. It will all be like rubbish to you. That's the fact. And then that is a very rare thing. Anyway, I kind of strayed off the topic a bit. Meant to be speaking about Krishna conscious family life.
Bro, I have a question here on this topic. See, Krishna was doing pastime here in this world.
Yes.
And so many people were seeing him. How come they become, not recognized and, serve, even though they are seeing, apparently, you can say.
Yes. That is all rights reserved by him.
Yes.
Who he will show himself to and in which way, that is his, with him, his prerogative. It's not that just by, like Guru Maharaj would say to us, with your flesh eye, what will you see? Even Arjuna, right? In Gita, Krishna says, you cannot see me with your present eye, so I give you divine eyes. Now behold my mystic opulence. So it's like that. It is not a question of proximity, sensual proximity. We cannot say that when we see the deity of the Lord that it is not Krishna. That is Krishna. But what is our ability to appreciate that? Our ability to see that? That's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he told, darshan is through the ear, not through the eye. We cannot understand who is Krishna just through our sensual faculty. So we have to hear about Krishna. That is called Sambandha Gyan. It is necessary to have Sambandha Gyan. And of course Krishna can reveal himself to whomever he wants in a flash. Udipana. Like Dhritarashtra, right? Dhritarashtra, when Duryodhana tried to capture Krishna in the assembly of the Kauravas, Krishna went there as the emissary to try and negotiate peace. But Duryodhana had the plan. We'll capture Krishna and arrest him and lock him up. Then the Pandavas will lose their they'll lose their enthusiasm for fight. We will easily be able to win. So that was their plan, right? They posted people here, there, they got some chains ready, they're going to capture Krishna. Then when Krishna came into the assembly and they went to make their move, then Krishna showed his Virat Rup, his universal form. And then he asked Duryodhana, where will you put your chain, Duryodhana? There's, like Arjuna saw on the battlefield, that same vision. And everyone can see, but Dhritarashtra can't see because he's blind. Then he said, and everyone giving some proclamation, oh, what are we seeing, And then Dhritarashtra prayed to Krishna. Oh, but Krishna, I cannot see. Then please just remove my blind just for a moment so I can have that. And Krishna said, this is not whether you are blind or not blind. If I say you'll see me, see me. And then Dhritarashtra saw. So similarly, many saw Krishna when he was present, but who could understand who is Krishna?
Correct.
That is not so simple, because it is all rights reserved by him. In fact, only very few understood who is Krishna. There's very few. That was his Leela, and that is Yogamaya. By the agency of Yogamaya, Krishna conceals himself. Even from the residents of Braja, Vrindavan, Krishna's divinity is concealed from them. They cannot see his divinity. They are just thinking he is our beloved. Our beloved friend, our beloved lover, our beloved child. They're thinking like this. And if some Aishwarya creeps in there, they're thinking that he is God Almighty, that disturbs that Leela. That is a disturbance to that. So Krishna doesn't want that. Like Guru Maharaj say, the Mother Jashoda looking in Krishna's mouth after he ate the dirt. And she's seeing that Virat Rupa. And she's also seeing herself looking in Krishna's mouth, and she's becoming bewildered, and she starts thinking, who is my boy? Who is he? Maybe he's some great mystic. And then the thoughts coming, maybe he is Bhagavan himself. Then Guru Maharaj said, then the cat cried, and Krishna afraid of the cat. Oh, cat! And then Mother said, oh, so silly, thinking, my boy he's afraid of the cat. So this is Yogamaya. So, we cannot force him to show himself to us. That is the atheist's challenge, right? If God exists, let him show himself before me now. But it is foolishness. Guru Maharaj say, they're making such a loud cry from within their cage. What is that? It is just sheer foolishness. As if you go to Buckingham Palace and stand outside the gate and say, I demand the Queen come out here and show herself to me now. What will happen? Very soon the police van will come and the man will put a straitjacket on you and take you away to the funny farm. Won't they? Nobody will think that that's a reasonable demand. But we can challenge God. He must show himself to me. Otherwise he doesn't exist. How foolish. This is our situation. But whom Krishna wishes to show himself to? It is by his sweet will. There is nothing that will give you the qualification to say, Krishna must show himself to me. I chanted so many rounds in my life, I did so much puja, I did so much tapasya, I did so many things, and he must show himself to me. Why he must show himself to me? It is like a glowworm trying to show his light in front of the sun. It is not possible. We see that in Navadvip sometimes. After the rainstorm, thunderstorm, all the fireflies, they come. It's really nice, all beautiful, all they're flying there. But in the daytime, they're also flying there, but you cannot see anything because the sunlight is in the face of the sunlight is nothing. So there's nothing in this world that will qualify us to impel Krishna to show himself to us. Only thing, love. The only thing which can conquer God is love. Then Guru Maharaj said it is impossible to think it, but the absolute becomes conquered by the finite through love. As all and only way. Then that means that we must cultivate love for him. And it is not just saying it that makes it so. It has to be real. When I was in California some years ago, I was staying with some devotees there, and the young girl, she said to me, Devashis Prabhu, I love Krishna. I really love him. Really love Krishna. But you know, that was kind of like saying, Devashis, I love cake. I really love cake. It was kind of that, you know. Because what does it mean to love Krishna? Really, you know, like this is a philosophical point. What is love? What is love? Love, ultimately love means sacrifice. Sacrifice for the sake of the beloved. And that means even if that love is not reciprocated. So Guru Maharaj would say, we know, no risk, no gain.
Full risk.
And all risk, all gain. Greatest risk, greatest gain. So, okay, but are you ready for all risk and no gain? Are you ready for that? If you're ready for that, then you may be approaching Krishna consciousness. We always want something in return, isn't it? At least, at least you show yourself to me that I can believe that what I'm doing is real. No demand. We cannot. So position we find ourselves in our life, our only objective will be to love Krishna, to cultivate love for Krishna, and that means sacrifice. We must be prepared to sacrifice our own interest for His interest, and it's a very difficult proposition. It's an easy thing to say, but the proposition is actually a very difficult thing. That everything that I am, and that everything I aspire for, that everything that I consider to be me, that I'm willing to let that die for the sake of Krishna. Who will accept that? It is a very rare thing. But first of all, we have to accept that it's necessary. Once we accept that it's necessary, then how do we do that? That's the question. How do I make myself be that? How do I make myself ready for that? That's what what Guru Maharaj said, the search for Sri Krishna. The search for Sri Krishna. We can say, oh, yeah, we found Krishna. We found Krishna 30 years ago, we found Krishna. But the search continues. Why am I not giving myself to Him?
I'm sorry, we have to stop.
Yes. I'm stopping now. So this is our aspiration, and this is our only purpose.
One instruction that I remember Mahaprabhu given to Raghunath Das Goswami, when he was always telling him go,
yes.
And he told him that Jotha Jogya Visaya Bhunjo Anasakta Hoya. He told that you go to your family life,
yes.
And you enjoy all the Visayas, but being not attached.
Yes.
It's very, very difficult to do that.
Very difficult. This is the art of Krishna conscious family life. The art is that. To be there, but not attached to that, but to be attached to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So Gurudev said, it is not a problem to be attached with your family if your family are devotees of Krishna. Then no problem. But if your family is against devotion to Krishna, then is a problem. All right?
One more point.
Yes, ma'am.
About Grihastha and Sannyas. They said Mahaprabhu is favorable to both, but he does not like crookedness.
Yes.
If somebody is Grihastha, he can behave as given to him.
Yes.
And a sannyasi, if does like that, and then appears in poses as a sannyasi, Mahaprabhu dislikes that.
Yes.
They said Gauranga Mahaprabhu catches our cheating inside the heart.
Yes. Sincerity is supreme.
Govind Maharaj, I heard some devotees told, I never heard it, but I heard Govind Maharaj told even a Grihastha, like a sannyasi, if his activities.
Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Grihastha.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is Paramahamsa Vaishnava. So he has that capacity.
He's detached, always, and he engaged in the service.
Yes. All right. We must stop now because...
Yes, we are getting
sorry,
Arati.
We have a lot of activities afterwards.
You have a big plan.
Starting,
So many flowers are falling from it. And it might fruit will fall. No.
Shomati Nandana Braja Paranagara Gokula Ranjanaka. Shomati Nandana Braja Paranagara Karana Dana Madana Manohara Kaliya Namo Navidana Gopi Karana Dana Madana Manohara Kaliya Namo Navidana Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Sripad, Sripad,